What's a business email compromise and why is it such a bad deal? Hi, I'm Woody Huffines on the Nerds to Go in McKinney and Frisco, Texas, and this is Tech for the Untechnical. A business email compromise is where your business email is compromised by somebody else that can then log into your email and send out emails that look like they're from you because they're from your email account. Now, the best way that the hackers have found to compromise someone's business email is phishing messages or pop-ups that say, hey, you need to re-enter your username and password. So we are so used to having Outlook or whatever web resource we're using pop up and ask us for our username and password that if we're not careful, we enter our username and password, then the bad guys have it and they can log into our email like they're us and they send out emails that look like they're from the person who owns that email account. Now, the worst case is case of a couple of large corporations, one in Europe about a year ago. The CFO had his email compromised, and the bad guys sent an email to one of the staff accountants in the company and said, wire this $2.3 million euros to this company. Here are the wiring instructions. Get it done immediately. Yikes, staff accountant gets this from the CFO, and he jumps right on it and does it, and hour later, he sees the CFO in the hallway and says, I got that wire transfer that you wanted taken care of. And the CFO goes, what? Yeah, they just lost $2.3 million. Not a good day for the CFO or the staff accountant. The second problem with business email compromise is reputational damage. It can damage your reputation with your customers as well as your vendors if all of a sudden your email account is sending out spam and malware and phishing attempts and all kind of bad stuff. It makes you look bad. But here's what's interesting. One of our clients had a business email compromise, probably clicked on a phishing email that he shouldn't, and 3 of his vendors contacted him and had suspended his accounts. The vendors were looking out for their business because if somebody that does business with them has been hacked and starts sending out malware to their employees, they become at risk. So they had to suspend him in their view, and I don't think it was a bad call on their part. They suspended him until he got his email compromise fixed up, and we were able to put together a letter that told him the steps that he was taking to keep this from happening in the future. So what are those steps that can keep you from getting a business email compromise? Well, the first and probably the most important is to enable multi-factor authentication. And multi-factor authentication is where you enter your password and they send you an SMS text message and you enter those numbers, or a time-based one-time password. Google Authenticator, Microsoft's got an authenticator. There's a bunch of authenticators that have an application on your phone, and there's a 6-digit number that changes every 30 seconds. So instead of having to find an SMS message or an email or a phone call as that second factor of authentication, you use the Google Authenticator, for example. That's what I use. So when I log into one of the sensitive websites, and as far as I'm concerned, any place I can use multi-factor authentication, it is sensitive enough for me to enable multi-factor authentication. So I have to know my password, and then I have to have access to that device that gives me that multi-factor authentication code to get in. And for business email compromise, that's the best thing that you can do. Now, it's not, multi-factor authentication isn't perfect either for SMS messages or one-time passwords or push notifications. There are several different forms of multi-factor authentication. The first thing that you can do for business email compromise is make sure that you have multi-factor authentication enabled so that even if someone does get your password, they don't have that secret code that takes that next step or that second factor of authentication. The next thing that you should probably do is regularly look at the email application that you're using and the rules library. Like, for example, with Outlook, you can write rules that say anytime I get an email from this person, put it in that folder and respond with this message, or spam filters that if it's any, I'm tired of receiving this email, if it comes in, throw it to the spam directory. Well, one of the first things that a business email compromise bad guy does is he gets into your Outlook, in the case of our client, and deletes all of the emails that come in, as well as deleting all the emails that they send out. So the bad guy gets a hold of the email account, he sends out an email, phishing email or a malware email to everyone in the contacts list, and then deletes all those emails from the outbox. So as a user, if you go look at your sent folder, there's nothing in it, or the only thing that's in it is stuff that you actually sent. So you can't see readily that you sent a bunch of things out from that email account. Then the next thing they do is they delete all the incoming mail, because if you start sending out spam and malware and phishing emails to all your friends, some of them are going to go, hey, dude, you've been hacked. So the bad guys make sure that any email that comes in after they compromise the email account, they get thrown away. So once a week or so, go through and look at all of the rules that you have in your email client to make sure that there's not some rules there that you don't recognize. Finally, and I would suggest this was a new learning for us in this particular business email compromise problem that we had with one of our clients had a bit of an insider attack feel to it. It was a family business, and one of the members of the family was a little unhappy with the family, but the member of the family that was a little unhappy with the family was the member of the family that established the domain and the emails. So they kept going back into the domain account and messing with the settings in the domain account and messing with the settings in the email. One of the things that I learned is that it might be a good idea to separate your domain from your email. In other words, manage and administer your Microsoft Office applications separate from your domain, so that if you lose track of one or the other, you don't lose both. And that was what was happening in this business email compromise that we had, is they had one of the family members was going into the GoDaddy domain and then sending out password change demands of the people in Microsoft Office because they had both in the same place. Might be a good idea to separate those two things. If you have any questions about business email compromise, give us a call at Nurse to Go McKinney, and we can help you put together some strategies to keep you from getting in trouble. And as always, if you find this information helpful, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification so you know when I have one of these thoughts. Share it with your friends, and we'll see you again soon.